It's on now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Committee of Hearing for Suburban Pan 2. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consent to sever. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Center Point Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conferencing for our registered speakers. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Fabien Poulin. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. And with me are my fellow panel members, Jay Baltz, George Barrett, Heather McLean, and Julianne Wright. The procedure for the hearings will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen from time to time are the applications we'll be hearing today. For the sake of efficiency, I may deal with agenda items in a different order. Panel members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear any oral submissions relating to the applications. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They also had to confirm in writing that they did so, or they'll need to swear or affirm an oath today that they fulfilled the sign posting requirements. Otherwise, we may have to adjourn or postpone the hearing. The panel may ask for a brief presentation of an application, followed by questions for the applicant and city planning staff. We will then hear from members of the public who have registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make the final comments and reply. Please address your comments to me as the chair, starting with your name and spelling it if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties, participants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure we'll be following today? No questions? Great. We have several applications here to hear today, but we first need to deal with some preliminary procedural matters. Are there any declarations of interest from panel members? No. There are no declarations of interest. And we don't have any minutes of past meetings past hearings to approve. And we do have some with some adjournment requests. So we have a total of 5. I'll call each one up to get their comments on the adjournment request. First item up for adjournment is item number 2, having to do with 3845 Cambrian. Evan Saunders, are you available?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon. Can you please state your name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Evan Saunders from Foten Planning and Design, and our address is 420 O'Connor Street.
Okay. And I understand that there is an adjournment request for the applicant to prepare new architectural drawings. Are you aware of that, sir?
Yes.
Do you agree with the adjournment request?
Yes, and to add to the adjournment request, we specifically are requesting an adjournment to the June 3rd hearing, if possible.
Okay. Do we have room on the June 3rd hearing, Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is room.
Okay, so I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to adjourn this application to June 3rd. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is adjourned till June 3rd. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
The next item up for adjournment is item number 4 at 370 Huntmar. And I'm looking for Miss Krista Lipman. Are you available? Is Miss Lipman online?
It doesn't appear that she is, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, we'll step that down for a moment.
Mr. Chair, I understand that the application is being adjourned sine die.
Okay,
So
we can address that now.
you can address it now.
Okay, so I'd like to ask the panel if they'd like to adjourn this application sine die. All those in favor, please raise your hands. The application is adjourned sine die. Our next application for an adjournment request is item number 5, having to do with 2663 Innes Road. And I'm looking for Mr. Peter Hume. Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the panel.
And are you aware that this application is requested to be adjourned?
I am.
And are you in agreement?
I am not.
Okay.
Believe we've satisfied city planning with respect to their concerns and with respect to the submission that you received from a member of the public requesting adjournment. It is our position that the ownership of the property is clear, as illustrated by the parcel registry. And I have with me, it is owned by a Canadian numbered company. And the sole shareholder of that, or the majority shareholder of that company, has signed the application. And therefore, from a property ownership perspective, it is rightly before you. And there are no challenges to the ownership that the committee should be concerned with. If there are, it is outside of the purview of the committee and more appropriately dealt with within the court of law, if you've read the submission. And that would be my submission to you, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe that an adjournment to support the members of the public's application would result in any different information that you already have before you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you confirm the ownership? Is it with this numbered company?
Mr. Chair, in accordance with the application form received and sworn for committee staff, as well as the parcel abstract provided at the time the application was filed, the ownership of the property appears to be the numbered company.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I guess what I'll ask the panel, I'd like to proceed with this application. All those in favor of proceeding with the application, please raise your hands.
You want to hear from the person?
Do we have to hear from,
I don't think so because they're not an owner. They're just a member of the public, so. So again, I'd like to ask the panel if they are prepared to hear this application later on this afternoon. All those in favor? So we'll hear it, we'll step it down and we'll hear it in order, sir. Okay, our next application up for adjournment is item number 7, having to do with 1679 Grasmere. And what am I looking for here? I am looking for Bassam El Sarraj. Can you state your name and your address, sir?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Bassam Al-Sarraj, and I'll be representing the owners of 1679 Grasmere Crescent.
Thank you very much. Are you aware that this application is up for adjournment? Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Do you agree with the adjournment request?
I'm in your hands, actually. If you believe that it's best for the application, then we'll go for it.
Well, as you know, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of information from the public, requesting more information from the applicant on what's to be done on this property. It might be a good idea to adjourn the application for a couple of weeks for you to have the opportunity and the applicant to have an opportunity to discuss things with the public so that they're more aware of what you're planning on doing there.
I don't find that unreasonable, so.
Okay, so panel, I'd like to ask you to adjourn this application for 2 weeks. All those in favor, please raise your hands. The application is adjourned for 2 weeks. So we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, that hearing would be May 20th.
May 20th. Apologies, May 20th.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Next adjournment request has to do with item number 8, 75 Aylen. I'm looking for Jennifer Murray. Ms. Murray online?
Yes, she is, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Murray. So, looks like planning would like to have an adjournment. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, planning has asked for the tree information report to be updated, so it was submitted. This site was part of a previous committee of adjustment approval, and so the report was resubmitted that had been used in the past. They've asked for an updated report, which the applicant is in agreement with. So we do agree with the adjournment. We were requesting that we might get on the May 20th agenda.
Okay, is there room on the May 20th agenda, Madam Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask the panel to adjourn this application to May 20th. All those in favor, please raise your hands. The application is adjourned, Ms. Murray, to May 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so the first application we'll hear the rest of the applications in order now. So we'll start with application number 1. This has to do with 216 Percy Street. I'm looking for Mr. Segreto. Is Mr. Segreto online?
He is, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Segreto. So we would like to hear a little bit more about this application. You have 5 minutes if you'd like.
We have in front of you, Mr. Chair and committee members, is an application at 216 Percy Street. There's presently a single 2.5-story single-family dwelling. The present zoning there is R4UA. What my clients would like to do is they would like to demolish the building and to put a low-rise residential apartment, an 8-unit. In order to do so, maybe we can go to the PowerPoint. As you can see, this is the site plan in front of you, and I'm requesting 3 minor variances for this particular development to go through. So we are proposing a 3-story, 8-unit low-rise apartment. Each apartment, I believe, will have 2 small bedrooms. I think they're around 8 by 10 in size. And the variances that I'm requesting are variance A, which is the rear yard setback, to permit a reduced rear yard setback of 25% of the lot depth, where the bylaw requires a minimum rear yard setback of 30%. So in this case here, what we're supposed to have as a rear yard setback is 9 meters, and what we're asking for relief is to bring it down to 7.57 meters. It's about 1 meter and a little bit more that we're requesting. And for this variances, it's basically so we can get the bedrooms a little bit larger, decent sized bedrooms, like I said, 8 by 10. So that would be my first variance, which is variance A. With respect to variance B, what we have is to permit a reduced side yard setback of 1.21 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum of 1.5 meters. Now, when you look at it, the present house is on the lot line and is actually encroaching slightly onto the neighbor's property. So by tearing down the building, we're bringing this more into conformity now. And the variance that I'm asking is actually to reduce it from the 1.5 to 1.2, which is about 3 feet. So we're actually, there's 4 feet there. It's a lot better than what was there before. There was actually nothing there. It's that lot line adjustment. Lot line on the lot line. With respect to variance C, that would be the front stoop or the front porch, the steps. And when you look at the site plan here, you can see the property to the right and to the left. they both properties are actually touching the property line, which is we're not we're in conformity actually with the properties next to us. We're not asking for anything more or anything less. We're actually, when you look at it, everything lines up accordingly, so it's not out of character. So that variance there is basically to permit a front steps to project up to 0.10 meters into the front yard lot line, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum projection of 0.6 meters. So again, this variance, in my opinion, is minor in nature. So when you're looking at the overall picture of this particular neighborhood, can we go to another slide? Next slide, please. This shows you where the property is on Percy Street. It's between McLeod and Flora. Next slide, please. This is just some context of what's in the area. You can clearly see that they're all fairly large, 2.5-story residents. They're duplexes. There's some singles. There's attics. So they're 3 stories high. You can see that there's also row housing there on Percy 227. So it is a mixture of units in the area. There's duplexes, semis, row housing, etc. So what we're proposing is a low-rise apartment in this particular neighborhood, which is permitted under the present zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. That's the subject property. And when you're looking at the photograph, you can clearly see on the left-hand side how close the residence is to the property line. There's an abutting garage, the white building that you see right there, the attachment there, that's very close to the line as well. So what we're doing is actually bringing that into conformity now. We're asking for a minor variance there, but it's actually 4 feet away from that building now. Next slide, please. This is the streetscape analysis. I believe we've done it all and everything is okay on the streetscape analysis. Next slide, please.
1 minute, sir.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, you got 1 minute.
Oh, sorry. Okay, this is the tree, the tree report. There's a number of trees that we're going to get permits for to remove in the back. I believe there's 1 tree in the front that is going to remain. In general, I believe that this sort of development is good development in this particular neighborhood. It meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. It also allows for affordable housing. This is what the city wants. This is what the province wants. I believe the variances are minor in nature. And I would like to also say that I did have a meeting with the community association approximately 2.5 weeks or so ago. It was a very good meeting. It was a very informative meeting, and I didn't get any bad feedback from any of the community people that were on that meeting there. So basically, the variances that I'm requesting, I believe, are minor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddell. Now, I'd like to ask the panel if they've got any questions. Ms. McLean, you have any questions for the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Segreto, could you just confirm the reduction in the side yard? We've identified it as westerly. So the side yard next to the properties on, is it Flora? Meets the zoning bylaw requirement?
Yes, yes, it does, Ms. McLean. That side, it does meet it, yes.
And is that an unencumbered side yard?
I believe it is.
Because the side yard on the north or the west side has a stair, I guess, stairs.
It does have a second means, yes, it's a second means of egress for the building. We put a small set of stairs there with a landing, yes.
So the other side yard is unencumbered, you could get back and forth and.
That's correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baltz, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I have a quick question for planning staff when we get
Okay,
there.
we'll get to that in a minute. Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions for the applicant? No. Okay, great. Now we'll move on to the planning staff. And pardon me. I'm looking for, let's see, Ms. Einkenrand, do you have any comments to make about this application?
Staff have no concerns and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Baltz, do you have any questions for the planning?
I do. Hopefully this will be quick. So in the R4UD zones, for these low-rise apartment buildings, the zoning bylaw specifically calls for 1.5 meters of side yards rather than 1.2. So I'm just wondering, what was the intent of the bylaw in having a larger side yard than other building types for these? And why is it not an issue here?
Can I take a moment?
I shouldn't say yes. Mr. Chair, can she take a minute?
Absolutely, she can have a moment.
Yeah, come on, final.
Chair,
I can assist here potentially.
Mr. Ireland, can you just state your position?
Sure, I'm a planner 3 in the Development Review All Wards team, so I work with Ms. Einkeran.
Perfect. So can you help with these answers?
Yes.
Okay.
So the intent of the larger interior side yard setback was to provide for functional requirements for those larger buildings, so access, garbage, those kind of things. So if those things can be accommodated elsewhere on the site, perhaps on the side that is 1.5, then that's why the extra setback is there.
Mr. Baltz?
yeah, so in this case, because there's an unencumbered 1.5 meter, I believe, on the other side, and that all that would result in making this one bigger would be wider steps, I suppose, or a 1 foot gap. Is that the reasoning? So that 4 foot pathway would be enough for whatever is coming out of those steps to reach the front or the back for garbage storage and other issues like that? Am I correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McLean, do you have any questions for planning? No. Ms. Wright, do you have any questions for planning? Mr. Barrett? Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'd like to see if there's anybody from the public that would like to make any comments with respect to this application. Anyone in-house? Please come forward. So you sit in one of those 2 chairs right there in front of you. Yeah, that's great. And what I hope we're going to do is we're going to hear there are 2 speakers. So each speaker, please add new information to the information that you're providing us. Okay, please state. Sure.
Sorry, just ask for one quick clarification.
Could you state your name?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My name's Matthew Hogel. I am the owner and resident of 214 Percy Street, the adjacent property on the north side.
Okay, thank you.
The clarification I'm looking for, Mr. Segretti said the building currently sits at basically a 0 meter setback. And that would become, he inferred that it was going from 0 to the 1.2 requested setback. But my understanding of the application is that would go from 0 to 1.7 on one side, and the other side would be reduced to 1.2. Can I just confirm that we're understanding the setbacks on the north side and not the south side?
Mr. Segreto?
Is that 1.2?
On the north side.
On the north side, it's 1.2, and on the south side, it's 1.7.
So it is the north side that they're requesting the adjustment. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, go ahead. Please make your presentation.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Matthew Hogel, and I am the owner and resident of 214 Percy Street, where I live with my wife and 2 young children. My property shares the full northern lot line of 216 Percy. My house was built in 1909, and the building sits about 1 foot from the shared lot line. It has 4 windows on the south side of the building, which face 216 Percy. I'm here to express my opposition to the application for minor variances that would reduce both the side and rear yard setbacks of the proposed development. Assuming you will be adjudicating each of the requested reliefs independently, I will speak to them individually. As it pertains to the side setback, the applicant seeks to reduce the required side yard setback to 1.2 meters. However, due to the inclusion of a staircase along the north side of the proposed building, the functional clearance from my property line drops to as little as 0.28 meters, just 11 inches. Neither the 1.2 meters along the majority of the lot line nor the 11 inches at the narrowest part is sufficient space for maintenance or meaningful separation between buildings. The setback reduction has a clear and negative impact on sun exposure to the 4 south-facing windows as well as to my backyard and creates a sense of overcrowding that did not exist before. It will replace a livable distance between buildings with a cramped shaded passage. The applicant references Table 6 of the official plan, which calls for minimal side yard setbacks. However, the actual text from Table 6 indicates that buildings should have minimal functional side yard setbacks. It is my opinion that a 1.2 meter setback and 11 inches at its narrowest does not constitute a functional setback. I interpret the guidance in the official plan as being to minimize functional setbacks within the zoning guidelines and not an encouragement to reduce them further. Any future work on the side or foundation of either structure will be made challenging, if not impossible, by this limited space. In Figure 5 of the application, which is submitted as evidence of many narrow side setbacks in the neighborhood, only a minority of nearby examples, less than third to be precise, result in structures being in such close proximity. Those examples should not set precedent, they highlight what we should avoid. This proposed side yard does not maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw or the official plan, and it introduces significant adverse impacts, making it neither reasonable nor minor. And finally, on the topic of the side yard setback, there is concern regarding the potential disruption of the foundation at 214 Percy during the construction of the new building. Digging as close as 4 feet to the existing foundation has the potential to cause significant structural issues to a fieldstone foundation that was built in 1909. I recognize that the applicant is requesting only a 1 foot adjustment, but in what will already be a tight space, these inches matter. The applicant also seeks a reduction to the rear yard setback, which will further extend the massing of the structure toward the back of the lot. This westward expansion will limit afternoon sunlight to my backyard and reduce the openness and usability of that space. It would also result in the removal of a tree that could otherwise be salvaged if the rear setback requirements were respected. Additionally, the application speaks to measures aimed at addressing and minimizing privacy concerns for neighboring properties. I feel that this statement highlights a lack of understanding of the neighbors and overall community, and I can speak separately to the consultation, which many of us were not aware of. The backyard space at 216 Percy previously fostered engagement and a sense of community. The southern and western borders with 279 and 283 Flora is a wire fence with no privacy. The northern border with my property has a gate in the backyard fence to allow access between the properties. We routinely chat from deck to deck with our friends at 279 Flora across the backyard. While it is not the responsibility of the owners of 216 Percy to maintain this culture, the expansion of the structure in the westward direction would result in the building fully blocking visibility between myself and 279 Flora and sever the sense of community that is fostered by the ability to interact through this space. In my opinion, the applicant's misreading of the importance of this backyard space highlighted here and in statements from the other bordering properties demonstrates that this project does not properly integrate with or support anything or anyone beyond 216 Percy. In considering a minor variance, the committee must evaluate 4 criteria: desirability, conformity with the official plan, consistency with the zoning bylaw, and whether the variance is minor in impact. In this case, the proposed reductions are not desirable from a neighborhood planning perspective. They do not uphold the intent of the zoning bylaw as they fail to preserve functional spacing and livable outdoor areas. And finally, the adverse impacts on light, property enjoyment, and the community culture are clearly more than minor. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the committee to reject the requested variances for both the side and rear yard setbacks at 216 Percy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any panel members who'd like to ask some questions of the applicant or the public? Mr. Barrett? Is right? No, Mr. Baltz.
So if the building conformed to the setback in the bylaw, would that make a difference in being able to talk to the neighbor on Flora?
The rear setback?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it
only
would.
a meter, so one,
No, sorry, the rear setback is,
it
from,
changes by like 1.5 meters.
it does make a difference. I had a diagram, that wasn't necessary, but we could put it up and I diagrammed the difference in spacing. But yes, it would go from fully blocking the, there you can see requested adjustment and current zoning on the left there and the tree in between. So, you can vaguely see the stairs of 279 Flora at the top of, or sorry, I guess the left side of that picture,
Okay,
if that makes it clear at all.
yeah, these are useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, sir, you're next up. Please state your name and your address.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Anthony DeRoche, and I am a homeowner at 281 Flora since about 2013. I live there with my wife and 2 young children. Our backyard directly borders and overlooks the backyard of 216 Percy Street. As such, we are personally and significantly affected by the proposed development. To my knowledge, neither we nor our immediate neighbors were consulted about the development prior to receiving the formal notice of the hearing. I understood from Mr. Sabretta that there was some sort of community consultation a couple of weeks back, if I understood that correctly. That was the first I'd heard of it. I understand there might not be an obligation to consult with neighbors prior to the formal processes of these developments, and it may not have changed anything, but I would suggest it would have been well received. We strongly oppose the requested variance to reduce the rear yard setback of 25% of the lot depth to the required 30%. I think in the context and what my neighbor just said about the difference 1.5 meters makes, in downtown like this, every inch matters to preserve livability and respect for the neighborhood. The minimum setback requirement, as I understand it, exists for good reason: to preserve light, air, privacy, and green space for surrounding properties. Granting this exception would directly undermine those protections. Our current backyard and those of our neighbors overlook the backyard of 216 Percy, which currently consists of trees, grass, gardens, contributing to a quiet and livable environment. The proposed plan would replace a single-family home with a 3-story, 8-unit apartment building, resulting in near total coverage of the space and pushing substantial building mass much closer to shared property lines. This will significantly reduce privacy of ourselves and neighbors and erode the character of the block. The variance, as I understand it, appears to be requested solely to allow for larger units, larger bedrooms that will increase rental yield, not because of site limitations or housing necessity. If I may just raise parking along the street as well. Parking on Percy and Flora Streets is already extremely limited. Adding larger units and more tenants without on-site parking will worsen an already difficult situation. Just to pause for a second and speak to the character of the neighborhood, it's a significant number of young families, and a lot of the kids bike on the street, play ball hockey on the street. The more traffic there is, the more it impacts the safety and the well-being of our kids to be able to play on the street. What we're seeing now is people cannot find parking and they just go around and around the block till Esparto opens up. And creating these big apartment buildings with no parking is really going to add pressure to parking on the street and traffic on the street. So the city, I would submit, must consider the cumulative effect of over-intensification on infrastructure and livability, not just on lot optimization. Concerns about waste and rodents are also very real for the residents and for ourselves. More tenants and larger units inevitably means more garbage, compost, and recycling. Based on past experience with other multi-unit dwellings on Flora Street, increased waste has correlated with more frequent rodent activity, a persistent and serious issue in our area. To conclude, I respectfully urge the committee to deny this variance request for the rear yard setback. This proposal is incompatible with the existing neighborhood character, compromises the privacy of adjacent homes, increases infrastructure strain, and offers no compelling justification for relaxing established zoning standards. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions for this, the public? Mr. Barrett, Ms. Wright? No. Ms. McLean? Mr. Bolts? Oh, okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. We have a few more members of the public who would like to make some comments. I have Nikolai Carrière. Are you available? I see your hand up, but you're muted.
Perfect. Thank you. I wasn't able to unmute myself.
That's okay. All right. So you've got a minute, 5 minutes to make your presentation, sir. And please be sure to give us new information that has not already been presented by the previous two members of the public.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the committee for the time you've given me. I do want to echo 100% what both my neighbors have said. So I'm Nikolai Carrière at 283 Flora Street. I am the back neighbor. I do want to iterate as firsthand experience in terms of rodent problems. And I also want to bring up the idea, the fact that this developer has built units like this in the past. In fact, one at 501 Bronson Avenue. And I think they are aware of garbage problem mitigations where it appears from that unit that garbage is done inside and not outside, where they do have maintained the bike storage on the outside, but not garbage. So by reducing, by only providing a narrow side yard, one narrow side yard, my biggest concern is snow. Once we have snow, to push snow back and forth and allow actual access to the backyard is not practical. As a person who maintains a shared driveway between 3 buildings, unless, again, the member has not provided any evidence that there's going to be any type of site management or how any of this will be addressed. But I do believe that daily access requirements to the backyard will be encumbered in the winter. So that's, again, please echo all the other concerns that my neighbors have. One more thing is also the functional space in the backyard. In what was presented today by Mr. Segredo, it appears that the bicycle shed is going to be encroaching into, the garbage shed will be encroaching onto 281 Flora Street or right beside that fence line. Which I'm not sure is permissible. However, if in the plans that were presented to us through the committee, that was not the case, and the green space was actually separated by the garbage and bike storage, which actually makes green space pretty much not usable. So you would have a very small backyard with a large garbage and bicycle storage, and then a small yard behind that, which would again defeat the purpose of having green space in the backyard. It's just basically a storage for a shed, or 2 sheds in this case. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to ask the panel if they have any questions for Mr. Carrière. Mr. Barrett, Ms. Wright, Ms. McLean, Mr. Bolts? No? Okay. The second one, or the next member of the public, I hope I get this first name right. Jacques Carrière, are you available? You're muted now. There you are.
There we go. Well, thank you to the panel for the opportunity to present. My name is Jessica Carrier. I'm the co-owner of the property at 283 Flora Street, as well as the landlord for the property at 285 Flora Street. In recognition of the instructions from the chair, I will not repeat those items that have already been raised. As the property owners at 283 Flora, we are also parents of young children living in the neighborhood, and wanted to address a couple of points that have not yet been raised, although I do share many of the concerns raised by my neighbors. So first, I'd like to speak about family housing. So personally, I really understand the need for continued development of housing and intensification in those areas identified for intensification. However, as many of my neighbors have mentioned, this neighborhood and this particular area of the neighborhood does have many families and a lot of children. The elimination of family housing and replacement with 1 to 2 bedroom apartments does not create what I would suggest is one of the main missing pieces in the housing sort of landscape, which is family housing in the neighborhood. So as we're looking at the design and what kind of housing is being made available, I would suggest that there is a large amount of 1 to 2 bedroom apartments available in the downtown and a real shortage of family housing. The second item I'd like to bring to your attention is the question of proximity of the garbage shed to adjacent properties and the impact on the enjoyment of those properties. As currently laid out, the garbage sheds is very close to the property boundary at 283 Flora, as well as the adjoining properties. And I would suggest that this may not be appropriate given the what has proven in other multi-unit residential properties in the neighborhood to be large quantities of mixed garbage with no waste streaming, and that should they continue to go forward with an outdoor park sort of storage for waste, that some kind of way to rinse those bins down and be able to try to control odor and pests would be important. I think the opportunities identified of the other developer designs with internal garbage storage may be more appropriate for this neighborhood. Finally, I'd like to talk about green space. So I'm sure the committee is aware of the shortage of green space in the Centertown neighborhood and the general sort of heat island and lack of street trees, and generally the reality in this neighborhood, and I did share some photos, is that the majority of green space, because of the character of the neighborhood and close proximity to streets, is in the rear yards. So the elimination of the rear yard setback and the gardens and trees that are there, and recognizing some of this would need to go, but that being replaced with further sheds and really no functional green space is an impact on the overall sort of availability of green space in the downtown core, and needs to be considered when the committee is approached with these kind of variance requests. So I would like to state my opposition to the variance for the rear yard setback, and really urge the developer to examine the availability of functional green space, both for all of the tenants that'll be coming into that community, but also as an interface with other rear yards that are also green yards and permeable surfaces. I would urge further examination too of permeability, stormwater management, and those impacts. So thanks again to the committee for your time and for the opportunity to share these concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Carrier. Does the panel have any questions for Ms. Carrier or Mr. Baltz? Oh, Ms. McLean is right. Mr. Barrett? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. The next member of the public that has requested to speak is Ying Wen Guan. Are you available, sir? I can see you, but I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. No, still not. Maybe your microphone's not on, sir? Still unable to hear you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you send him the link for the phone?
Mr. Chair, we can put it on screen and he can call in.
Thank you. We're going to put on the screen a telephone number you can call in so we can hear you. There you go. Your hand is raised. I see that, Mr. Guanj, but I can't hear you. Has he called in?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chair.
You've got to call that phone number, Mr. Guan, so that we can hear your voice. I can see the hands down now. Are you phoning in? You can nod your head and let me know that you are. Still not hearing you, sir. Can you try telephoning in that phone number, and someone will be able to get you online here in our room.
We do have a letter on file from.
Okay. Mr. Guanj, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to move on to the balance of this hearing. We do have your letter on file, and we have considered it. We've all read it, so we will move on from the public's presentation at this time. Before we proceed to the final word, I want to ask Ms. Einkaran. I'm looking at the layout of the site plan for 216 Percy. And I note at the back of the property, the two sheds, the bike shed and the garbage shed. Does the bike shed encroach on the setback to the left-hand side of this space? Sure, take a moment. Yeah, we'll get to Mr. Segreto just as soon as we get the information from our city's planner. Sure.
Mr. Chair, we can perhaps find out from Mr. Segreto whether the one we have in our package is the most up-to-date site plan.
Sure. Mr. Segreto? Yep. Wanted to ask you a question. You're muted, sir.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the site plan I'm referring to is in your package, and it is the site plan for 260, the application for minor variances that have the minor variances outlined as A, B, and C.
Yes.
So can you tell me if the waste bins and bike shed at the rear of the property?
Okay, so when you're looking at the waste storage bin, first of all, it does not encroach on the property, and we would never be able to get a building permit should we build that thing. That would be part of the building permit process. So it does not encroach. It is over, I'm told it is over approximately 6 to 8 inches or so, and it can be moved over even a little bit more if we had to. So with respect to the storage waste bin, no, it does not encroach.
Can you tell me how much room is between the property line and the edge of the waste bin?
At presently, we show it at 6 inches, but it can be moved over, slightly over, if need be.
Now, is that enough room, in your opinion, to be able to get by? I mean, I'm a pretty tubby guy. I don't think I could get
No,
through that.
No, I'm talking about the property line, the waste storage. No, you have 5 feet between the building and the waste storage. That's sufficient room to get a bin off to the side and then down that lane where we have 1.7 meters.
Or I'm confused because I don't see it that way. I look at that waste bin encroaching onto the setback by about 2 bins, or if those vertical lines are bins, it looks like it's encroaching in 2 bins. It's a lot.
In the mid, what? I don't know what you're looking at, but on the plan that I have in front of me here right now, the storage bin, the waste storage bin from the neighbor's property is 6 inches away. And from the corner of the proposed building, we have 1.25 meters. So there's sufficient room to get around, to walk by the side of the bin and then down the aisle to bring it to the street. It does not encroach onto the neighbor's property. That would never, ever, ever be allowed or permitted.
Oh, not neighbor's property. I'm just talking about the setback. Can you put up that, Mr. Houston, can you please put up that? Okay. We'll just get the plan up. There we go. Okay. Now I'd like to go, Ms. Einkran, you have some comments?
The garbage shed is actually accessory building, so it's regulated by section 55 of the zoning bylaw. So looking at the plans, it doesn't look like it's encroaching onto the setback because the garbage shed has to be 0.6 meters away from the side property line and the rear property line when located in the rear yard. It doesn't look like it is 0.6 meters away, so it needs to be either moved or a variance needs to be sought for that.
Okay. So, Mr. Segreto, looks like you need another variance if you're going to leave the shed where you're at.
Sorry.
It's not a shed.
It's what?
It's not a
waste storage.
Yeah.
It's a fence?
Yeah, it's not required to be a building.
What I'm told is that it's not required to be a building. It could be a storage waste area with a fence around it. That's what I'm told. I don't know if that's what the bylaw or the planner is looking at, but that's what I'm told. But if in fact, if it in fact becomes a shed, to move it over 0.6 should be fine. We should have no issues with moving it over 0.6 from that property line. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, so then looking at variance B, I see that there's stairs that come down into that setback area, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So
Ms. Einkran, does the stairs allowed to encroach on a setback?
Yes, it is a permitted projection. So, and it appears to be open stairs and landing, and in the side yard, there is no limit, so they can actually go up to the property line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now does anybody, no, Ms. Wright, ask a question.
So I had a question, sorry. Through you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for forestry, if possible. One of the residents brought up the fact that this rear yard setback, because it's been increased, will result in one of the trees being removed. Can you just elaborate on the condition of that tree and if there was no relief with respect to the rear yard setback, if that tree could be retained?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair, The tree information report here shows 2 trees in the rear yard, both of which are to be retained, even with the reduced setback, because the location of the bike shed and the garbage storage was moved forward toward the building, retaining that green space in the rear yard. I believe what the neighbors are referring to is another tree that is probably under 30 centimeters in size, so it's not shown on the tree information report and is not protected under the bylaw. So it does look like that tree would be impacted, but there's no city policy about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions from the panel? Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to planning staff, the garbage storage area, is there a requirement, a zoning requirement to have it inside the building, or is it allowed to be outside the building, or enclosed, I guess? I know sometimes you want it moved inside the building and the grade. I'm just not sure, just looking for clarification on it.
So, garbage storage is regulated by section 143 of the zoning bylaw, and in this case, all they really need is a 1.2 meter wide walkway to access the garbage area, and the zoning bylaw doesn't really require accessory building or to be enclosed in this case.
Just an area that
Just
you
an
can
area.
store it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a 1.2 meter wide walkway.
And a walkway to get it from the,
Yes.
from the front to the back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Now I noticed. Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, our online speaker is now able to connect.
Okay, perfect.
We can
Thank
hear
you.
From him.
So we're going to go to Mr. Guan, allow him to have some opportunity to comment on this application. Mr. Guan? Mr. Guan, are you available? Looks like we're still having some technical difficulties connecting Mr. Guan to
If he could press *6 on his phone, he should be able to connect.
please press *6 on your phone, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, good afternoon. This is Jingwen Guan. I'm the owner of 277 Flora Street. I am going to speak on 2 points. The first point that the current building has encroaching to my property from their back addition, and also the edge line of their Eurostore is also over on my property. This must be corrected. So therefore, I support their motion to move their new structure to the north boundary of their property. So for that point, I supportive. I'm supportive to that point. So in this way, they can correct the encroachment to my property and also to my neighbors, next door neighbors. And second point, from their new design, I don't see any information regarding on-site parking space. So therefore, increase 8-unit residence is going to cause a very congested for the street parking. I suggest that the city should consider to mitigate this matter for increase on-site parking space in the new design. That's all my concern for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Please hang on because the panel may have some questions for you. Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions for the public? No, Ms. Wright? No, I don't. Ms. McLean, Mr. Bolts?
Just a clarification, and actually I'll ask Planner Einkaran. R4UD zone in a low-rise apartment building, parking is not permitted on site, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Any lot that is less than 450 square meters, parking is not permitted.
So parking couldn't be permitted on this site, Mr. Guan?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolts. Thank you, Mr. Guan. Appreciate your.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, I noticed when we were debating back and forth with planning that there were some members of the public within in-house here that had some comments. Further comment?
In regards to
Jump up and so we can all hear you.
just quickly, in regards to the conversation around the trees in the backyard, the picture I submitted does show the 3 trees. Whether the third one is of a proper size that it should be considered, I'm not sure, but there is a picture if you wanted to have a look at that.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Segreto, I've passed the torch to you. You have the opportunity to give us the last word.
Thank you so much. I just want to respond to a couple of the questions that were brought up or issues that were brought up. Number one, with respect to the rear yard landscaping, soft landscaping, so on and so forth. With respect to that, landscaping, which is required in the backyard, is 35 square meters. What we are providing in our backyard is actually 54.5 square meters. So there's more than enough for amenity space in the backyard. In addition to that, we also have provided balcony spaces, amenity spaces on this building. So for additional amenity. With respect to parking, we've addressed that issue that parking is not required in the downtown core. Secondly, what I'd like to do is I also would like to talk about with respect to the bedrooms. It was a requirement, I believe it's a requirement from the city that if we can have the 2 bedrooms, that it would be a much better fit for this project. And with noting the fact that the zoning is going to be changing within the next 6 months to a year from now, what I'd like to maybe confirm, if the planner confirm that with us as well, under the new zoning bylaw as of next year, if everything gets approved under the N4B, with respect to the rear yard, minimum rear yard will be 25% of the lot depth as of next year. The height, when you're looking at the height of this thing here, the maximum building height will be 14.5 meters on this. And with respect to the side yards, the minimum total interior side yards next year will be a total of 2.4 meters, rather than what we have right now is 1.5 and 1.5. So these are issues that we will, that we have taken into concern. And again, the variances that we're requesting for the rear yard, the 1.5 meters, and with the side yard, if everything gets approved next year, will no longer be required. The only variance that is required is the variance for the front steps that we're asking variance C.
So, Mr. Segreto, I appreciate your comments about the zoning bylaw being amended. However, we can only consider the zoning bylaw in play today. So I'm going to ask Mr. Einkaran that you don't have to answer that question because it's not relevant today.
Okay.
So we'll just move on. Please continue your comments.
That's basically what I have to say. I think this is a very nice development in this particular neighborhood. Again, we're looking at this building here. As I expressed to the community association in my meeting with them a few weeks ago, that they asked the question, this is affordable housing that we're providing here. It is affordable housing in this particular neighborhood. They're not luxury apartments. They're not going for 2,500, 3,000, whatever. They're, my guess is maybe around 1,500, 12 to 1,500, 1,600. So it is affordable housing, and we do need that in this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, now I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to reserve on this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. This application will be reserved, and we will be making our decision and send you our decision within 10 days. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, our next application that will be heard today is again with Mr. Segreto. having to do with 870 Riddell. Okay, Mr. Segreto, if you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we're going to reset the clock to 5 minutes.
Okay, sure. Okay, so what I have, hold on a second, I just got to get organized here. So what we have here, we have a property on Riddell, and presently there's a semi-detached dwelling, and what we'd like to do is we'd like to do a severance or a lot line adjustment to split the lots into two parts, two equal parts, for the future development of possibly singles or even doubles for that matter. So I'm in front of you here today. It is a straight consent. There's no variances on this particular site. And maybe we can go to the PowerPoint and look at that for a second.
Yep.
So that's the property 870 and 872. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to create two parts for future development. In this R2 zone, we're in the R2F zone, which allows singles, duplexes, and semis. Next slide, please. Again, that shows the building footprint that would be allowed under the present zoning bylaw if we were to build a couple of buildings there without any variances. Next slide, please. That's the subject property. As you can see, there's an existing single family with a trailer and some garage in front. That's to be demolished. And I believe the tree is to be maintained. Next slide, please. That's an overall view of the area of the R2 zone. As you can see in blue, those are all semi-detaches in the area. The pinkish colored is obviously the singles, and the red is obviously where our site is. And next door to us, you can see that there's semis. Across the street from us, there's semis as well. Next slide, please. That's an overview of the area showing where Riddell is. That's to the west of Maitland, and obviously to the south of Carney. Next slide, please. And again, that's just showing the trees that are in the area, the ones that are getting impacted or removed, and then the ones that are being saved. Next slide, please.
I believe that is the last slide, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so that's it. So basically, it's a severance that my client is requesting at the moment. I have no idea what the intention is of building, but possibly some semis there down the road, down the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segreto. Now, you're familiar with the requested conditions?
I am.
Do you agree with them?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Now I'd like to ask the panel if they have any questions for you. Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions for the applicant? No. Ms. Wright?
No, I don't.
Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz? No? Okay. So now we'll move on to planning and ask Ms. King if you've got any comments with respect to this application.
Hi, Mr. Chair, no comments from planning, but happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, any questions for planning?
Just regarding the cash in lieu request by the city, excuse me. Can you clarify that this is necessary?
So to my understanding, and I will defer to my senior planner if I'm not correct here, so they will have to demo the existing building, and then they're constructing two new dwellings. So for the cash in lieu park plan, basically it'll be 1-to-1 for the existing and the new building, but then the second dwelling, that's where the cash in lieu park plan would be triggered for the new dwelling. Yes, on the other lot, yeah.
Thank you.
Could I jump in here quickly?
Sure, Mr. Aylen, go ahead.
Ms. King is correct, but based on the fact that we aren't 100% certain about what will be built there, if it would be one dwelling on each or more, it is possible that we could defer the cash in lieu to building permit and remove the condition from this.
Mr. Segreto, do you want to have this condition removed?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, if we can do that, because I really don't know what's going to happen there down the road, and that will impact the value with respect to the cash in lieu. Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Barrett? Ms. Wright? No. Ms. McLean? No. Mr. Bultz? Okay. So with respect to the conditions, we're removing number 2, cash in lieu. Okay, so next step is to ask the public if they've got any comments to be made. Is there anyone in-house that has any comments? Is there anyone online that have any comments to be made? No comments? That's great. Mr. Segreto, it's now up to you to give us the last word.
I think I'm okay with everything with my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to ask the panel if they'd like to reserve on this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. This application will be reserved and you'll receive our written decision in 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're on to item number 5. And I'm looking for Mr. Hume. This has to do with 2663 Innes Road.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the panel.
Good afternoon.
This is a minor variance and consent application for a property located at 2663 Innes Road. The purpose is to create lots for townhouse development along Innes Road. These townhouse are back, front and back. So we're creating a lot in the back for 4 townhouses and a 4-door row in the front along Innes Road. Now, this property has been before you before. It was before you in August of 2023 for a number of variances for a 4-story mixed-use building with 18 residential units, a number of office spaces, 28 vehicle parking spaces, and 10 bicycle parking spaces. The owner went through the site plan process, came to the committee, received approval for the project, but when it went to financing and construction, it wasn't economically viable. So the applicant is now back with, and they've partnered with Roca Homes, and they now have a residential project that they're seeking minor variances for. The consent application creates, and if you want to go to the PowerPoint the 3rd slide. It gives you, so you have a back property serviced by a back driveway to the back 4 units. The front 4 units are individual lots with an easement along the driveway to a parking area or a drive aisle to a parking area, and each lot along the front has their own individual parking spaces. The minor variances in the AM11 zone are for the rear property because it really doesn't have building frontage along Innes Road, are to deal with the requirements to have building frontage or buildings within 3 meters of the front of Innes Road and glazing on the facade. And as being a building in the rear, you can't have that glazing along the property frontage. And with respect to lots 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's to reduce the transparent glazing along the frontage, and not because They want smaller glazing that is standard on a residential development. It is, in my opinion, that the AM11 zone is really structured for a ground floor commercial use and the 4-meter height. And they want transparent glazing because they don't want spandrel panels that front along stores that prohibit eyes on the street and activity. So, so when you go to the next slide and you look at the minor variances, your planning report indicates that staff are satisfied with the minor variances and they meet the 4 tests. And when you look at the AM zone, it allows a broad range of uses in that zone, including residential uses, but it imposes development standards that promote intensification and looks for compatible uses. And there are a lot of mixed buildings along Innes Road. And the glazing and frontage requirements are designed to create buildings that have street presence and to make sure that activity is viewed from the street. And we believe that, and on our submission to you is that we meet the intent of the glazing and transparency requirements with the residential component and the front doors along the street edge. And in fact, almost all of the frontage, 88% of the frontage along Innes Road will contain building walls within 3 meters of the front lot line. And the intent of that is to have doors and windows and eyes on the street. So you're in essence getting a modern brownstone along that frontage, which we believe meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. And as you can see, staff have indicated that it meets the 4 tests. Where there's a little difference of opinion is with the consent application. And really it's around two areas. One is, and it's really about parking. And one is the visitor parking in the rear. We've shown a location in the rear area. However, that location, that visitor parking isn't constrained to that location. It can move northward, it can move southward, it can be relocated to along the back wall of the back units there. So it really, and staff raised a good point. And you'll see in the conditions, they want to make sure that you can move in and out of that spot. And we believe you can, and we believe there are other opportunities to place it. We've just placed a visitor parking spot to demonstrate that we have room and a location for it. And the other one was the individual parking spaces with regards to the 4 units along the front. We needed to structure those to meet the intent of Section 102. We have shown carports and a little driveway, and we believe that we meet the intent of the bylaw in that regard. And those were staff's two, in our opinion, main concerns. We believe they've been addressed. We believe the consent application meets the intent of the Planning Act. And I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to ask the panel if they've got some questions for Mr. Hume. Mr. Baltz, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Just quickly, so the variance for reduced glazing cites 9.2%. Is that at grade?
No.
Or is that the total facade?
No, it's not the total facade. It's from grade to 4.2 meters. There are still glazing above that. There are still windows above that.
Right. So what's the total glazed amount of the whole building facade? Is it coming close to that? I looked at the rendering of the front elevation.
I'm not sure, Mr. Baltz, if I have that, I might just in my notes here.
Just helps us to know, to see if it meets the intent of having, significant glazing facing the street.
Yeah, so total glazing, doors and square feet, 19.53 meters squared. So that's 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 all the glazing along all 3 floors. The glazing along the bottom, if I'm reading this correctly, is sorry, I can't read my eyesight. Total surface area is 19.2%. But there are 8 sets of windows on 2 rows above the glazing requirement. So I'm sorry, I can't give you any more.
That's significantly more than 9% when you're
Yes.
looking at a facade of
Yes.
this building from the street.
Absolutely.
One question I forgot to ask you, Mr. Jim, you're aware of the conditions for this application to, if
I am.
approved, and do you agree with them?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Ms. McLean, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, can you explain what part 1 is on the plan?
Oh, part 1 is road widening requirement.
It's a road widening requirement?
Yes.
There's no condition for that, but, was there any consideration given to, dividing the front, row of townhouses, right through the back and giving individual rights of ways over that rather than creating an ownership that's an L-shaped?
We looked at different options and where to structure the property and best meet the design criteria that the zoning imposes. And so it was best to sort of minimize the openings. So that's why we went with a single opening with a shared right of way, so that we had as much consistent frontage as we could get. So I'm assuming that was the intent of your question.
Well, it was to deal with the right of way, or that part 6 at the back of the units.
Yes.
It's going to be owned by the corner unit, part
Right.
5. Was there any consideration to having each unit own right to the back lot line and then give a right of way over it?
Oh, I see what you're.
One is going to own that whole right of way.
Right. And give the easement to travel across all of them.
Well, I just
Yes.
wondered if there was a consideration.
Yeah, and to be honest, we looked at options, and we were looking for simplicity at that point. But if that's an interest of the committee.
No.
Okay.
I just wondered if that had.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. McLean. Ms. Wright, do you have any questions? Mr. Barrett?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. With regards to the carports, I believe in the front units, is that a requirement, or is that something that was just something you would?
No, those are a requirement to meet section 102 of the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
But
there are no carports scheduled for the back 4 units,
no,
correct?
because the back, there could be, but it's not a requirement to demonstrate zoning compliance, in order to be zoning compliant on the front lots, you have to have a carport.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask, let's see. I believe it's, where are we going here? Who's the corner? Pardon me? Okay. So we're looking for planning to give us their comments on this application. Oh, there it is. Ms. Einkran?
Staff have concerns with the visitor parking and the farthest parking spot of the rear lot in terms of site functionality and maneuverability. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Can you give more specifics other than just say general concerns, exact reasons for your concerns?
It is not really a zoning requirement. We are just worried about the maneuverability, like how the cars would be able to park in and out of the parking spot, and transportation engineering has also requested a turning plan in this case. So if there are alternative options thought about, we wouldn't have those concerns.
Okay. Mr. Hume?
And there is a condition in from transportation that asks for a maneuverability requirement, which we agree with and we will demonstrate. So, and as planning has indicated, we're showing it where it can go. It's not a zoning requirement. We can move it around to meet the condition that is being imposed.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. I don't see it.
So it would be on, so it would be, if you could put up the,
Conditions?
no, the condition?
Well, that's what I'm looking for. The condition that you're saying is present that will solve the problem. Yes, Ms. Lankran.
It is not actually a condition. It's only a comment from
Sorry.
transportation engineering.
Okay.
I read it as a comment. You can make it a condition if you'd like, Mr. Chair. We're going to be able to meet it.
Okay.
So.
All right. So you don't have a problem with us adding that?
No,
in?
I do not.
Okay. Now, any further questions? Ms. Wright? No, Ms. Barrett?
Could I just have clarification what that condition would be, just, or is it, do you have access to it through planning staff?
I would have to check with my senior planner on how the wording of the condition would be.
You said it was in the comments?
Yes, it was in the comments from transportation. I don't have them in front of me, but they asked for
That's fine. I'm sorry. I want to make sure.
Okay, that's good. All right, so now we move on to the public. Is there any?
Ms. O'Connell had her hand up.
Well, I'll let first, Ms. O'Connell, can you just hang on? I'll let Ms. McLean ask her question.
Just concerning the parking and the maneuverability and that, when does that ever get addressed? Like, we're not dealing with it before the minor variances before us aren't dealing with parking. Just when would the functionality of the parking get addressed? Is there a post up in there?
I think I'll let Ms. O'Connell answer.
Ms. O'Connell, can you help in this regard?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, if this application wasn't before the committee, if this was just an application for a building permit, for example, if there was something that was outside the realm of zoning bylaw requirements, the site functionality for whether a car can back out or not is not really part of the review. I think in this case, and staff certainly make the position that sometimes the requirement to proceed in a forward motion is not one that we've prescribed anywhere in our policy review. I think we're recognizing though that this is Innis Road, this is a busy street, and I think the applicant's even aware that it's not desirable to have an applicant back out on this in this position. So I think we'd like it considered as part of this application. It's part of our concerns. And just in terms of I was just going to provide some wording in terms of a potential condition to address this. There are comments from transportation engineering. So I'm just taking what they provided and added at the beginning, that the owner provide a swept path analysis to confirm users of the visitor parking space can maneuver in and out of the spaces without reversing onto Innis Road. So I've just taken, and we can provide, if you'd like, we can provide that wording for you following the hearing of something we would recommend in terms of a condition.
And I agree with that.
Okay. And Mr. Hume agrees. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Connell. Okay, so now moving on to the public. We have, I think, Serge Malenfant is one of the persons looking to make a presentation.
We don't have any speakers online, Mr. Chair.
Okay, are there any speakers within the in-house that are looking to make a presentation on this application? Nope, no one to make a presentation. Okay, then Mr. Hume, you've got the last word. Please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm before the committee. I'm happy with the submission to the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel if they'd like to reserve on this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. The application is going to be reserved and you'll receive our decision in 10 days.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of panel.
Our next application is item number 6, having to do with 1660 Merivale Road. And I'm looking for Ivan Ho.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivan Ho of Parsons of 1223 Michael Street.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to make a brief presentation, we'd be happy to hear it.
Mr. Chair, am I able to introduce myself?
Sure, you can.
Thank you. My name is Pam White. I'm a planner with Parsons. I'm also here as an agent on behalf of the owner, Arnois Energy.
Thank you. So whoever would like to start, please go ahead.
Sure. I believe we have some slides to pull up. So we can just go next slide. So this is our subject site, is an existing gas station. It's a triple fronted site with a frontage along Glen Manor to the west, Viewmount to the north, and Merivale Road to the east. And with Merivale Road being the front lot line. So next slide, please. So for our proposed development, we're proposing a one-story building located towards Glen Manor Road. So we would demolish the existing building and provide a new one-story building, relocating the queue lane for the car wash towards Glen Manor with the existing gas car wash building to be retained, relocating the pump island towards Merivale Road, relocating the underground fuel tanks to along Merivale Road to accommodate right-of-way dedication along Merivale and Viewmount. And yeah, go next slide. So we're requesting 2 variances to support this proposed development. The first being exception from the 50% minimum requirement for surface area, ground floor facade for the building walls along Viewmount and Glen Manor drives. And the second variance being exception from the maximum front yard setback from Merivale Road. So next slide, please. So here I just kind of wanted to outline the atypical configuration of this property, it being a triple fronted property. So this is not typical for not a typical configuration that we see. So we wouldn't typically see glazing requirements required along 3 walls of the building. So with that, it is difficult to accommodate due to the internal uses of the building. So on the right, we have a floor plan, a proposed floor plan of the building. So towards Glen Manor Drive, we have employee areas where surface area would be used for storage. And towards Viewmount, we have utility areas and washroom areas that would make it difficult to accommodate transparent material entrances here. I also want to highlight that views from the wall, from the public realm, will be obscured through fencing and landscaping along these 2 buildings. Next slide, please. So here I want to highlight that we are meeting glazing requirements along Merivale Road. We're meeting that 50% transparent facade requirement, but yeah, requesting a variance along Glen Manor and Viewmount. Next slide, please. So for our second variance relating to the maximum front yard setback, we're requesting a variance of 42.3 meters from the front lot line. So in designing the site, placement of the building was limited by considerations such as the site size, the retained location of the car wash building and landscape areas, as well as the need to relocate underground fuel tanks, which were required to provide unencumbered right-of-way dedications along Merivale and Viewmount. And I just wanted to highlight that the new location of the fuel tanks provide the benefits of straightforward fuel truck movements through the site and limits the need for extensive underground piping with fuel tanks being located closer to the pump island proposed along Merivale. And also highlighting that the site does accommodate the intention of establishing the property boundary and enhancing the pedestrian spaces by improving connections from public sidewalks and improving landscaping along the property edge along Merivale. Next slide, please. So it is our opinion that the first variance relating to facade composition satisfies the four tests and that it is desirable for the development due to floor plan considerations, building use, and privacy considerations. It is minor due to the building wall facing the front lot line meeting the facade requirements, and that the walls that we're requesting the variance are being obscured through landscaping and fencing. And that in keeping with the OP and the zoning bylaw, and that it provides for a permitted use. Next slide, please. Similarly, with the second variance, it's our opinion that it satisfies the four test, and that it is desirable to enable efficient fuel truck movement through the site. It is minor in nature due to the improved landscaping and pedestrian connections, improving the public realm, the adjacent public realms. And it is in keeping with the OP and zoning bylaw in that it, again, provides for permitted use, and the development includes other features that will fulfill the purpose of this provision. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add, ma'am?
No, I just wanted to add at the end just that this configuration of the gas bar site, it's an existing gas bar site, as my colleague had mentioned, it does have 3 frontages, which is kind of unusual, and that it's desirable in that there is a residential neighborhood in behind, and the location of the building provides a buffering in and of itself of those activities and those gas bar activities that are happening closer to the street, which is more desirable than it being at the back of the lot closer to residential communities.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, do you have any comments to make, or questions, excuse me, not comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Is the fencing wood and what height?
The fencing is wood. I will have to confirm the height if we have that up hand.
Yeah, it's
Typical.
It's a typical sort of residential type height of 6 feet, and it's a board-on-board fence right now. Yeah.
Ms. Wright, any questions? Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz?
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that. So I understand the desirability of the blank facades on Viewmont and Glenmore for the internal functioning of the building, but not so much for the people who have to look at it. So you said it was mitigated by increased landscaping and fencing, and Mr. Barrett just asked about the fencing, but what sort of landscaping are you talking about? Are these trees that are going to actually screen the building, or are we talking little bushes that don't grow higher than the fence?
So we are proposing a number of trees along Glen Manor and Viewmont to help screen the sides of the building.
So these are like real trees that are going to actually form a green barrier there, so they're not looking at the wall?
So there's actually quite a number of mature trees already along Glen Manor, and so we're filling in the spaces to boost up that buffering requirement. There's quite a lot of landscaping on this site, and one of the benefits of reconfiguring this site this way is that it's maintaining the majority of the landscaping area. So we're looking at increasing the overall open space from 17% to 47% on this site with increased landscape buffers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to planning staff. I'd like to ask planning, Ms. Shoma Rashid, if you have any comments to make about this application.
Staff have no comments, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions for planning? Ms. Wright?
No.
Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz?
Yeah, I'll just ask the same question. So planning and I guess maybe forestry are satisfied with the screening that's going to be provided on the residential sides?
We are satisfied, and it is being reviewed in detail under the site plan control that is running concurrently.
So that'll be largely screened because there were comments about.
Those are the requirements.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask the public if they've got any questions, comments to be made, presentation. Are there anyone in-house that would like to make a comment? Anyone online? No comments by the public. That's great. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Ho if you'd like to have the last word.
Just again, thank you for giving the opportunity to present this application.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask the panel, would you like to reserve on this application? Please raise your hands if you would like to. Your application will be reserved and you'll have an answer in 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe our last application today is for, where to go? Item number 9, 220 Woodroffe Avenue, and Mr. Robinson. Look, he's already in his chair.
Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Chair and members of committee.
Would you like to make your presentation, sir?
Certainly, if the coordinator could bring up the presentation documents, that'd be great. Thank you. So the application before you today is at 220 Woodroffe. It's a minor variance application for a 8-unit stacked unit development. Next slide, please. The property is in the inner urban transect and within the Main Street corridor, evolving overlay, which is encouraging the scale of development that is proposed. The area to the south and east, which would be below and to the right of the subject property, is where Carlingwood Shopping Center is. You've got transit lines on Woodroffe, Richmond Road, and Carling. It's in close proximity to shopping both on the north and south side of Carling. There is a library within walking distance. There are parks and schools within walking distance. So it's a very good location for this type of development. Next slide, please. This is the property in question outlined in blue. It's in an R4D zone. Across the road is an I1A zone, which is a school. And then north of that, there is also a church, and to the rear is a residential neighborhood of R2F zone. To the north of the property are semi-detached units, and immediately to the south of the property is a 4-unit building. And to the rear on the street to the rear, there are single-family homes. Next slide, please. This is the survey plan with Woodroffe on the right-hand side. There are no, it's a vacant lot. There are no trees or vegetation of note. There was a house on the property. This property was the subject in 2022 of severance and minor variance applications before panel 2. And it was approved for variances for semi-detached units, and they owners have changed direction, and we're now going forward with a 8-unit stacked dwelling application. Next slide, please. These are photographs of the property. So on the left, you can see the property from Woodroffe looking into it with the outline of the property outlined in red. You can see the 4-unit building to the left and the one of the semi-detached units to the right. The photograph on the right is an interior view of the property after the single-family home had been removed. Next slide, please. Another detailed looking towards the southwest of the property. Next slide, please. This is the site plan. So you've got on the right, you have Woodroffe Avenue, and it is the basement and the ground level levels contain the lower unit on the project, and then the second and third floor contain the upper level units. And there are stairs and entrances at the front and sides of the building. And you have in the rear the garbage enclosure area and the bicycle parking. I'll get to the variances, I think, on the next slide, but it does meet other zoning performance standards such as building height, rear yard setback, rear yard landscaped area, and it also meets, it provides the required area for planting in the rear yard. Next slide, please. On the left is the side elevation. So the north and south side elevations are the same, and you can see the balconies for the units and also the entrances on the side of the building. And then on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the east and west, or the front and rear elevations of the building with balconies and also entrances to the units there. Next slide, please. So this is where the variances are requested. The first one is for a reduced lot area from 660 square meters to 464 square meters, which I believe is 5,000 square feet. So this is an existing situation. The property is in an R4D zone. And then related to that, there's a request for reduced lot width from the 22 meters, which is the requirement under the R4D zone, to 15.25 meters, which is 50 feet. A reduced front yard setback from 6 to 4.89 meters. A reduced side yard setback beyond 21 meters to 1.5 meters. We have a 1.5 meter setback, side yard setback all the way along, which is we will provide enough distance for garbage to get from the rear to the front of the property, and for bicycles and for residents as well. This zoning does have a sort of a tweak in that once you go 21 meters back, you're supposed to have a 6 meter setback. So we're showing on the diagram a dashed sort of yellowy green line, and that is the only part of the side walls of the building that would be subject to that. At that point, you're supposed to go 6 meters back. Going 6 meters back on both sides, you would have very little usable building area if this variance was not being requested. And I believe there's just one more variance, and it's on the next slide, please. So this is a very unusual variance. There is a requirement in the bylaw for the first floor habitable floor space to be 40 square meters. This is the typical floor. This is the ground floor plan, and the units are the same. However, we can only include in the calculation the area that is outlined in purple. So we can't include the staircases leading from the side of the building into the unit. We can't include the washroom, and we can't include the counter area of the kitchens. This is the ground floor. The basement level of these units is also part of the units. So I believe each of the units are about 100 square meters. However, the ground floor under the calculation methodology is only 36 when it needs to be 40. All of the units are about 100 square meters, which is just under 1,100 square feet. So collectively, they all meet the requirement. It's just this unusual quirk in the bylaw that makes you do it this way. I think it was intended to avoid having very small homes. And next slide, please. This is the outline of the 4 tests, which we also provided in the submission materials. Next slide, please. Yes, and this is how it meets the intent of the bylaw and the official plan, and it's minor in nature and represents good planning. And it gives details about how it meets that we do meet things like landscaping, waste storage, bike parking, and most of the side yard setbacks. The front yard setback request it aligns with the general neighborhood characteristics and ensures that there's sufficient space between the building and the right of way. And the side yard setback is adequate to allow for access between the front and rear of the property. And the habitable area variance is intended to ensure that adequate living space at grade is there to maintain low density neighborhood characteristics. Next slide, please. This, I know it came up earlier in today's hearing about version 2 of the city zoning bylaw was issued in late March. I'll just leave it at this, that this project will be zoning compliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, are you aware of the condition that would be imposed should this application be approved?
Yes, I was made aware of it when the staff report came out. I've spoken at the beginning of the hearing with Ms. Murshid, who is the file lead on this. My understanding, this project is in for a building permit application, and as part of that it was filed a few months ago. As part of that application, a grading and drainage plan was submitted, so that's not an issue. What Ms. Murshid is indicating is that the infrastructure services branch cannot, when you're just going in for a building permit submission, they can't impose a stormwater management requirement. So what Ms. Murshid has indicated to me before this hearing is that the infrastructure services would be requiring an inlet control device on the roof. That's not an issue. I guess my question on all of this is typically minor variances don't have conditions. So, but there is the ability to do that. I realize that. So if the committee issues a written decision in 10 days, and then there's a 20-day appeal period, we're at 30 to 35 days by the time we get the final and binding notice, what ends up getting cleared if the grading and drainage plan, the final version with an inlet control device, is not approved by infrastructure services or building code services until after that?
Right. Can you shed some light on that, Ms. Murshid?
Sorry, I don't have the answer to that. What I do understand is the minor variance will be applied, appeal period will have been exhausted, and then we are going to be in talks with building code services prior to them issuing their building permit that there is an additional condition that's been stipulated under the Planning Act.
Okay. But that doesn't help Mr. Robinson in trying to resolve the condition.
Mr. Chair, you have Ms. O'Connell again.
Pardon?
Ms. O'Connell again.
Oh, there she is. Okay, go ahead, Ms. O'Connell, if you'd like to add something.
I think everyone who spoke is correct. There's a limited ability for us to impose conditions, or procedurally, it's a little trickier for us to impose conditions as part of the variance application. The intention here is that the decision would reflect the said condition, and then the zoning plans examiner who's reviewing the application prior to the issuance of the building permit would double check and make sure that that grading and drainage plan, or whatever's the requirement for the inlet control device, is a part of this building permit application before it's issued, because the variance is conditional upon that being part of what's issued in the end. So it's more of it's a double check to make sure we get that as part of the building permit package that will be issued.
Are you good with that, Mr. Robinson?
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. I think I know the answer to this. I just want to make sure that 10 days from now, and then 20 days from now, 30 to 35 days from now, we're not going to be on hold until an item that's a building code process is not holding up the final and binding notice on this. Thank you.
Can you confirm that, Ms. O'Connell, that it will not be holding up the process, the building permit?
It's not our intention to hold up the variance process, by which it would reflect that additional condition, but we do want to see what we've asked for as part of that stormwater management as part of the building permit submission. So before the building permit is issued, then we'd ask for that additional stormwater management, but that won't impact the timeline associated with the minor variance itself.
That's fine. Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right. So I'll ask Mr. Barrett if he's got any questions for planning. For the applicant? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Just one question with regards to clarification of the unit size. Are they a mix of 2, 3 bedroom units, 1, 2, 3? What's the?
They're all 2-bedroom units, and they have 1.5 bathrooms, and they're approximately 100 square meters or 1,080 square feet each.
Ms. Wright, any questions? Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz?
So variance D as circulated, I believe is wrong. Can you look at in the package, the circulation package? So what it says is permit reduced northerly interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters for a portion of the building within 21 meters of the front lot line, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 6 meters for any part of a building located within 21 meters of the front lot line. That's exactly backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 1.5
beyond.
meters. Yeah. So
Going from the front lot line,
exactly.
the first 21 meters from the front lot line going westerly into the interior of the property, there's a 1.5 meter setback.
So what you showed is correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then once you go 22, 23 meters, then it's 6, and it's only 0.95 meters is
So my
impacted.
point is, I think we have to correct the variance we're issuing,
Okay.
because it's not going to do what you want.
No, thank you.
I will try to get a confirmation from planning, but I think we have to say beyond rather than within in both of those cases in D.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay, so can we just, this is.
We'll make that modification.
Yeah, and it's a more restrictive, so it doesn't have to be
Doesn't have
recirculated.
to be recirculated, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay. Now, Ms. Murshid, do you have any questions, comments to make about this application?
Staff have no further comments.
Okay. Mr. Balls, do you have any questions for planning staff?
No, that was my question and it's been answered.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. McLean? Ms. Wright? Mr. Barrett? Okay, great. I'd like to see if there's anybody from the public that would like to ask any questions or make a presentation. Anyone in-house? Anyone online? No one here? Okay, so no questions from the public. Mr. Robinson, it's up to you. You can give us the last word.
Thank you very much. We believe this is a sensibly designed project with 8 units, all 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms, approximately 1,080 square feet each, and the property is in close proximity to transit, schools, churches, parks, library, and shopping facilities. And it represents the type of small-scale intensification that the City Planning Department are in support of. And it represents the directions of the OP and the proposed new zoning bylaw that would allow this development as of right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask the panel if they have any, if they would like to reserve this application. All those in favor? The application is reserved and you'll get our response or our decision within 10 days. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I believe that concludes our hearing today. And thanks everybody for their help. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.